Hi everyone, I'm Annabelle. I'm the Regional Director of Essex County, New Jersey, and I play the piano. A special element of the piano is its volume, which is the degree of loudness that a sound can get to. The piano has an especially loud volume, especially when playing chords with both hands like this. One of my favorite exercises to do when practicing is chromatic scales, which sound like this. It helps to warm up my fingers, and it also produces a nice, delicate sound. One frequently asked question about the piano is how hard is it to learn how to play? In my opinion, it requires a strong foundation of skills that you can only build up by consistently practicing every day. It might seem hard at first, but gradually you'll start to notice that you can build up the techniques that you want to. The composer Muzio Clementi was an Italian composer from the classical era. He was well known for his many sonatas and many studies produced throughout his career. I've always loved this song whenever I was hearing it at recitals when I was younger, so now I practice it all the time. My favorite piece is called Sonatina in D Major, Opus 36, number 6 by Muzio Clementi. Here's a short excerpt. Some advice that I would give to others trying to learn the piano is to never give up, because the best way to learn is from your own mistakes, even if it means trying it over and over again. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Hi, I'm Alex Jones, a rising junior at Kent Place, and the instrument I play is the viola. I would say a unique element of it is its greater size than a violin and deeper pitch than also a violin. My favorite exercise to do while practicing would probably be scales, just because my viola is massive, so practicing where to correctly place my fingers on the strings helps to improve my playing. And I've also found that a lot of pieces in at least my high school incorporate scales, so it helps to practice them often. And I would say an example of that is Pirates of the Caribbean, where there were a lot of, like, the viola has a solo in it, and you have to jump from a lot of strings, so like I said, scales help me practice that. So my favorite piece is, and I'm sorry if I say his name wrong, but it's by Dmitri Shostakovich String Quartet number 8, and while I recommend listening to the entire piece, I'll play a part that is less notably known than part 2. So a little bit about, well, at least why I enjoy the piece is because I enjoy Dimitri's incorporation of the viola, because it has a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot of, but it does have solo parts that I found that most high schools, or at least my high school and pieces in general, don't incorporate. and they sort of reserved the viola to a harmonization spot, so I enjoy that Dimitri decided to sort of make other instruments play according to the viola instead of the other way around, and not just completely put it as a harmonization part. One question I've repeatedly received about the viola, even in the orchestra, is what's the difference between a violin and viola? So as I've mentioned, the viola differs from the violin because of its pitch and size. So you don't have to reach or move a lot while playing the violin to reach a certain note due to its smaller body compared to a viola, and you don't have to press as hard with a bow to create a large sound due to the lighter strings. Well, not lighter, but they're not as thick as the viola strings. So finally, as the strings alto, the viola also has what's described as a darker pitch than the violin. So the violin has I would describe as a higher pitch than a viola. One piece of advice I would give to anyone who wants to learn how to play the viola, or just anyone who wants to learn music in general, is to not be afraid to mess up, because I stopped playing the viola for 3 years since my middle school didn't offer it. So once I went to high school, I started playing the instrument again and was sort of discouraged because I would make a lot of mistakes and I wasn't as good as the other violist that I played with, and that was mostly because they did play throughout their middle school year. But with a lot of practice and encouragement from others around me and not being afraid to make mistakes, I got to a place where I could keep up with them in the orchestra. And that's why I think you shouldn't let your mistakes stop you from picking up an instrument. And because anyone can learn an instrument, even if you started what's considered late. So, yeah, I'm Alex. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Hi, my name is Tessa and I play the cello. My favorite exercise to do when practicing is scales. For example, here is a G major scale. A special element of string instruments like the cello is vibrato, which is a subtle but quick change in pitch. When cellists vibrato, they move their elbows slightly like this. This is how a note would sound with vibrato versus without vibrato. A commonly asked question is, what is the clef for cello? To answer that, cellists mainly deal in bass clef, but if pieces are higher, they can also deal in tenor and treble clef. Another FAQ is, what key is a cello in? A cello is a non-transposing instrument, which essentially means that it plays the written notes exactly as it sounds. So to answer that, a cello is in the key of C. My favorite piece to play is J.S. Bach's Minuets 1 and 2 from Cello Suite No. 1. A fun fact is that the English word minuet was adapted from Italian minuetto and French's menuet. Something about the composer that really draws me to Bach's music is the mode of depth of his music. This owes much to his understanding of the dissonances in the inner or blue voices. J.S. Bach really does it in a sweet and sour way by mixing and matching styles. This makes the more joyful tones feel anxious and the sad ones feel hopeful.
Although I played more complex pieces before, what really intrigued me was the simple movement because of that exact timbre and feel of changing voice. A piece of advice I would give you if you want to learn the cello is to practice every day and to not worry and not give up, because once you get the basics down, it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you learned something new.